Chapter 16 Violence is in the Blood. I'm Zack Nolan, and I'd love to be your senator for the Gulf States of America region. As he turned to leave the stage, he caught the eyes of the two men in uniform, and it suddenly clicked. Their uniforms were not the same as the security team at the arena, and they were just off stage right. He recognized them. They were in the desert. They were here to finish the job. Zack locked eyes with them, glared down, and then shook his head slightly before running off stage. "You were amazing, honey. You were awesome out there. I know I'm going to vote for you," Athalia said as she tried to kiss him, but he pulled away and grabbed her arm. "What's wrong?" "Stay with me. Come this way." "What's going on, Zack?" Zack went to a pair of security guards standing among the staff and technicians working in the auditorium. "I think we might have a problem. There are two men who I think are coming for me. They're in uniforms, but if you look closely, they're not the same as yours. Is there a way to get out of here without being followed?" The guards looked at each other for a second, processed the threat in their minds, nodded at each other, and then one of them left. The other guard said, "He's going to keep an eye out for your friends. Follow me. I've got a shortcut to freedom." They ducked behind the sound and stage equipment, and the guard opened a trapdoor at the far end of the stage, revealing a ladder to the basement. They each climbed down, and the guard led the way through the maze of old stage equipment. When they reached the back of the storage area, he opened a door that led to a long hallway. "Follow this until you run into a set of stairs. When you go up, you will come out into the back kitchen of the Southern Cafe. Go out the back door, and you'll be on the block behind the auditorium. Can you get a ride from there?" "That's perfect. Thank you," Zack said, shaking his hand. "No problem, sir. And by the way, you've got my vote." Here are some insights. For context, the President Connor, and Defense Chief Alvarado have created a kind of elite unit of the military called the Patriot Guard. Very common for dictators. They like to have that personal guard they have control of, a specialized force kind of within the army itself. How will they use this group? Well, think about it. What kind of leaders like to have secret elite guards? Of course, dictators, right? So they're going to use that. They're going to use the Patriot Guard to kind of advance their agenda, whether or not it's legal. Several Sparrows are now running for New America Senate seats because remember, they're stepping up the political campaign. And the best way to do that is to get Sparrows elected to office. And that way there's people in the government working on their behalf. But what's the danger? You've got President Connor dead set against the Sparrows, and now they're actually winning, legitimately winning. Not only are they winning people's hearts and minds, but they're actually winning elections, which means they have a legitimate voice to speak out against President Connor, which is kind of his nightmare. With the Patriot Guard out there trying to sabotage and do things outside the law to protect President Connor's interests, is that going to slow down the Sparrows? I think at this point we kind of know nothing's really going to slow them down, but what if they're successful? What if they're able to commit assassinations and to find leaders and to take them out? What will happen? But also, don't forget that the Sparrows have a weapon in their arsenal as well. They have the 9. So they're not alone. They're not sitting ducks. So now we've got this tension set up, and the Sparrows, hitting the gas, and they are running for important positions. They're running to be senators so that they can have a voice in government. And I think if you know the Sparrows at this point, they're not going to slow down, but it's also not safe. So let's see how they do, and let's see how they fare, not just in the elections, but in the attempts by President Connor and the Patriot Guard to slow them down. Hang on for Chapter 17.